Hello everyone! In this video I will show you how to easily edit models using Blender. We will use the Megacity pack as an example, but these techniques can be also applied to other packs. We won't cover the whole functionality of Blender because it's really huge. Instead we will focus on smaller and simpler techniques that are really efficient. In this video you will learn how to easily separate objects, delete them, or add animations. How to add additional movable elements, how to add extra floors to a building, and finally how to turn an ordinary car into a zombie fighting vehicle. I hope that after watching this video you will be able to easily perform similar operations and create some modifications for your objects in your project. Now let's get started. There are a few models that I will be modifying today. I will put these models in a special collection. You can also not do this if you are a professional in Blender and you know how you can manipulate your objects and you keep track of it, but I personally don't, so I will put them into a different collection. To make you feel more comfortable, I will show up my hotkeys in the left bottom corner of my screen. You should press key M, and here you see there is a menu. You should select collection and create a name for your collection. For my collection name will be edit, because I will be editing these models. All other collections I will turn off. You can create this tick by going to your filters and selecting this toggle. And then you can toggle them off and they become invisible, uninteractable, and you won't see them and won't have any troubles with them. Before editing my models, I will place them in 0, 0 coordinates, in a place of intersection our X, Y and Z axis. Remember that Z axis in Blender is facing upwards, not like in Unity. If you have some troubles with exporting Blender models to Unity because of this, then you can go to our link in the description and find our video on this topic. To place your object in 0, 0 coordinates, you can simply press Alt plus G, and here it is. Now I am focusing on this specific model by pressing dot on numpad. For this model I wanted to create some animations for opening and closing sales. I have searched up for some references and I decided that this place will be basement for our back sail, and it will go up from here. And these 2 points will be basement for our front sail. Usually we are working on our models in edit mode. We should split our sails from main geometry. To select a separate geometry, you should select some faces or vertices or segments of this geometry. And after this you should press Ctrl plus L. We are making all of our models in that way that you can easily separate them into different pieces. After geometry selection, you should press P, and in this menu select selection. And then your selected geometry will become a separate object. Now we will repeat this process on the second sail as well. My animation in Unity will be based on scaling, but there are some problems with object centers, so we should fix our pivots. We have a different video which is telling you how you can solve these problems in different situations, but now I will just show you how you can quickly solve it here. In edit mode we should select these 2 vertices and place our 3D cursor to this position. And now I'm opening my object menu and setting origin of the object to the 3D cursor. We should process similar operations on the second sail because we have the same problem with it. Now this object is ready and I will move it into a special collection. I will call it Fine, which is final. Here we go. Now we will move to the next object and do some operations with it. This is my next model, it's Dolphinarium, and I wanna animate this dolphin. I wanna rotate it around in Unity, but I wanna my building to stay still, so I should separate them as different objects. It's a little bit more complex because we have not only one geometry as our dolphin to separate, but we also have his eyes. And there are 2 ways of handling this in edit mode. The first way to select select multiple geometries is to select firstly one geometry, and after this you can select another geometry, and the third geometry we have 3 geometries because it's left eye, right eye and body. We can select them from different views and that will make no problem. But it's not really always the case, because sometimes you need to select something that is inside of your object or after this object and you cannot rotate your camera, and in this case you can just select it with X-ray mode. X-ray transparency mode means that you can select anything behind your front surface. So you can select your front surface vertices and also back surface and anything that is behind. Personally, I use this mode a lot because it's really useful. You can check if you selected everything you need by just dragging this object to another place. Now I should just again separate my geometry to another object. Now we should fix our pivot again, because even though it can rotate properly, our pivot is so low that it's not really useful there. I will move it a little bit upper. Firstly, I will show up my pivot, and you can see it's obviously in the wrong place. We can move pivot with kg. If you want to move it around a specific axis, you can select this axis letter. For me it will be Z axis, so I will press Z. And now I'm moving it around the axis. Now it's in the correct place. I will also change the pivot of this kind of sign with this circle. And then I will select my cylinder in this dolphin's building, because I see there is a nice place to get my cursor centered. And I will place my cursor in the center of this circle. And now I can go to object mode and set my origin of this geometry into this specific point. Now I am able to rotate my dolphin as ever I want. Let's move to plane object. There are these landing gear hatches and I want them to close or open, and I want to create animation also for them. So I need to split this model a little bit and move it a little bit. Let's move to edit mode. It's not really comfortable to select all of these small hatches. To make it more comfortable, we can switch to an orthogonal view. For this you can use different numbers on the numpad, or just press Alt while you are moving around the scene with camera. The next thing we should do, we should place origins to centers of hatches. It's almost ready. I will adjust position a little bit to make it look more like closing and opening hatches. And then I can animate them in Unity or even in Blender. Here is my stadium. On this stadium I want a closing roof animation. Obviously roof isn't long enough, so I should create a separate object to scale it up like with sails on the ship, remember? But the first thing I should do, I should place these vertices vertically, otherwise they won't be closing good enough. To do this I press S for scale, then I will select Y-axis and I will click 0 because I want it to be the scale of 0, so it will be completely flat. And now as you can see it's just really good wall because we have it aligned with Z axis. To avoid intersections with this holder stick, we should place this a little bit further away. Now I should copy these polygons and separate them to a different object. To create copy quickly, I will use Shift plus T and then right mouse button click to make it in the same location. It's there, let's make sure that it is there. Let's separate it to a different object. Now we should extrude this piece of plane. Let's go to edit mode, press A. You can see we can extrude it, but we should extrude it only on one unit. So let's press 1. Now let's click left mouse button. Now we should replace origin of the object. As always, we will be doing this in edit mode to place our cursor, and then after this we can place origin to the cursor location. We can select between top and bottom vertex here, because we can place our cursor on any of them, or we can simply select the edge between them and set it to 3D cursor, or maybe 3D cursor to it. And now place origin to the 3D cursor. Now we should do the same for the second part of object. By the way, with Ctrl you can deselect vertices, so I will deselect all of other vertices in the roof. Now I will copy them and separate them. And the next step is again extruding. If you cannot extrude it to one unit, that means you should extrude it on -1 unit, because it's in the different side. Or you can simply drag it with your arrows. The rest of operations will be pretty the same. Now it's ready for animation. Except for this small sign, because this sign is weird. Yeah, kinda. I mean, the roof is closed and it's not. So let's separate this and place the origin to the bottom. And now, before closing roof, we should make sure it will go down. And after this we can close the roof. And no problem will be there. At least I hope so. Now let's move to the next building. For this building I want to have second floor. As you can see, there are some elements that we won't be changing, like columns or roof. So let's separate them for now, because we don't need to change them. Again, we can select this geometry and move it around to see if I selected it correctly. With key H, I can disable view of these objects that are necessary. In orthogonal transparent mode, I select all of these columns. Then I am easily selecting all of columns on the wall sides. Now let's select the floor and duplicate it and move it up. We can adjust a little bit of positions to make them stick together. Also you can use merge. If you want to get rid of this gradient, you can watch our other video that we link in the description. So go follow it. Let's return all of our objects back. We should place the roof again on the top and scale our columns. Here is one thing you should notice. As you can see, there is one yellow object and others are with orange outline, and this one with yellow outline, it's meant to be the main selection, so the last one, and every other object will be joined to this object when you press Ctrl G or any other function to join objects. And in our case it's really important, because our yellow object that is now yellow, it's columns and they have non-uniform scale. So if you join them, you will get something like this. Quite bad, isn't it? To avoid this, just select all of objects with Shift and select the object that will be the main object in the last position, so that it will be active. If you still have some wrong rotations or translations or stuff like this, then you can fix it by pressing Ctrl+A and selecting rotation or scale, whatever you want. This will fix the problem for a specific transformation. The last object we will be modifying in this tutorial is a car. We will create some fancy zombie extensions for this car. The first thing I will create is bumper. You can create objects and move them and modify them, but I like to create objects exactly in the place where I will be using it. So for my bumper, it will be in the front of the car. I will select some kind of segments and place my cursor here. And now when I am telling to Blender to create this object, it creates it right there in this 3D cursor place. I will scale my cube a little bit. Yeah, I use different axes for this because I need to deform it. I should make it not that flat, but a little bit sharper. To add a new edge loop, I should press Ctrl plus R and then left mouse button to apply this. Then I will move it along the Y axis. We can also select border edges and move them a little bit down to make the look like a little bit more interesting. Now let's add some spikes. We will create a cube and select it front face and scale it down so that it will be more like a point. Let's duplicate it and place some other spikes as well. Next I will join all them together. Now we do not want to repeat this process again on the other side, so we can just use mirror modifier. In modifiers window we should select modifier mirror. You can select an axis to mirror with, in our case it's axis X. Let's select bisect mode. And if something goes wrong and you are not able to see anything, use this flip button, because it can help. Now let's apply the modifier by pressing Ctrl plus L or going to specific menu to apply it. Now I wanna close my windows with some specific steel shield, to protect window from some bombs or even zombie guts. Then I'm creating a new edge loop as well. Let's deform it a little bit. Let's create a small window for the driver. Before making a hole, we should make our scale uniform, so you should apply scale. Now we should press I to insert. And you can see there is our small window on both sides. So now we can delete both faces and create some connection between them. You can do this by command bridge edge loops, or you can do it as I am doing here manually. Firstly, I am selecting different edges of this face and I am pressing F to create new face. Now you can see our window is okay. Let's cover some other windows as well. To create symmetrically another shield for another window, we can use mirror modifier. As we have center of object and center of geometry, we should use orientation that is specified by car object. For this you can just drag this car to this specific field. It's just a simple modification, but you can create some more complex modifications as well. Let's select all of our modifications and join them into one object. Now it's ready to use, almost, but it has some troubles with materials. Set your cursor to the right top corner and drag a new window from there. For this viewport we should select UV layout. Here is our texture and it has different gradients and colors. You can see our other video about this specific instrument, how you can change colors of our models. But for now I will just quickly go around this topic. For example, the first thing I will be changing is the color of the car. I should select specific car polygons in the edit mode, and after this you see there are some pieces selected on UV map. We can move them around and get different colors. We will join our made additions to the car body. Now they all have the same material as car, so we can move them on the same palette. Let's move them around and get some specific colors. I will make it small to set it to a single color, not multiple colors. These small islands on UV map are representation of the same polygons in the edit mode. And here we go. That was a small guide on how you can change and modify your meshes, or maybe even change color a little bit. And that's all for now. Check out our Megacity pack. You can also follow our YouTube channel for new videos. Thanks for watching and goodbye till the next time.